So today guys, we're going to be doing our first official tier list here for Archeland, and I actually wanted to do my very own here in tiermaker.com, but I wasn't able to find a full Archeland list with all the SSRs. So I went ahead and now I'm actually using a tier list here made by pridewin.gg. I'll go ahead and leave the link down below so you guys can check it out for yourselves if you'd like to go check it out on your own later. And for the most part, we're actually about in the same agreements on whether units should be placed or not. So let's just get right into it, guys. Before I get into the tier list, guys, I wanted to let you guys know that each unit, yes, I'm going to place them in a tier, but just because in their tier list doesn't mean they're the best in every single situation. There's going to be a lot of different fights where you're going to have to use certain units or certain teams or a certain mono element. So remember, you're going to have to build your teams accordingly. Every unit is going to have their own significant value, so don't sleep on these units. They all have their perks and they're all good in their own way, right? This is just a tier list overall, just ranking them individually, but in a team composition setting, and depending on what the content is that you're taking on, that can all vary, right? So keep that in mind. But before we move on, I'd appreciate if you guys subscribe to the channel. Help we'll get to 1,000 subscribers, guys. We're almost there, guys. We just need a little bit more. So make sure you guys go ahead and press that subscription button and show some love. So specifically, this is going to be an SSR tier list. There is going to be SRs on this tier list, but don't mind those, guys. I will be going over the SRs later on, but I want to mainly focus on the SSRs here so I don't make the video too long. And on top of that, I have a lot more experience with the SSRs too. I haven't really been playing as much with the SRs. So I want to be able to give you guys information from stuff that I really know about. First and foremost, there's really no explanation for this, and everybody knows her. Everybody knows how strong she is. We have Charlotte, and yes, she is the queen right now. She is literally the best DPS unit here in the game, and reason being is because she can take 2 turns within her attacks. She has a passive that gives her 2 turns, so she can go ahead and hit you and then hit you again. And also before she takes into an extra turn, she actually can get 2 attacks in, and that's how she procs her passive and stuff. She has great movement, so that extra turn gives her even more mobility, right? Her stats are really good too across the board. She's great in PvP, PvE. She's a blue unit, and yeah, Charlotte, you can't go wrong with her. I made a video of her already saying that if you guys want to reroll for her, you can. I didn't end up rerolling. I just ended up going with whatever the game gave me. But yes, Charlotte is that strong. Now, number 2, yes, I would put Clefairy as number 2. Now, Clefairy is a very, very strong unit. She's a light healer support, and what makes her really, really broken is the fact that she can give a unit an extra turn. Have you guys noticed that the extra turn is what really makes these units really, really strong? Once a unit goes, Clefairy can come and just use this ability that makes that unit get an extra turn. So pair her up with Charlotte and you'll just get a bunch of extra turn mayhem, right? But luckily there is a cooldown on Charlotte's ability on how many times she can proc that extra turn. So yeah, she's a great healer. She can dispel a bunch. She can do huge heals, right? But the main thing about Clefairy is that she can go ahead and give that unit an extra turn. And also she's a light unit, so she really has no weaknesses. So that's a good thing, but the light units do have slightly less stats than every other unit in the game because they have no elemental disadvantage. They have to have some type of disadvantage, so that's the little disadvantage they do have. So yes, Clefairy is very, very strong. Triple S tier for sure. And then number 3, we do have here Semi. Now, Semi is one of the newest units here that came out in Archeland. She is a lightning assassin. She's the color green, and she actually does a lot of damage. I actually think she deals the highest single target damage here in the game. She has a huge range, of course, because she's an assassin. She can proc dodge on herself with multiple abilities. She can designate who exactly she wants to dodge. She has abilities that buff up herself and her damage, and she has a skill that literally resets all of her abilities. I think this unit definitely belongs in this tier, Triple S. She is 100% the best green unit in the game. Now to move to the double S tier, we have Adam here. I actually have Adam. I don't really use him too much. But Adam is actually a really good unit. Early on, he's not the best. He does good damage, and he does have a support ability that does damage that gives their teammates a 10% attack boost if they're about 2 range radius from him. which is great, and he has an attack buff, but early game he's not the best. But when he get later on down his talent tree, his ultimate is explosive, and he has this ability that he can do an AoE damage dealing ability that also leaves fire on the ground and does a good amount of damage to enemies that step on it. And it just alters the battlefield PvE wise and PvP, because now your opponent has to keep in mind on where they're going to step and stuff like that, because the fire actually does a decent amount of damage based on their HP and stuff. So yeah, Adam definitely deserves to be here. He also has a passive that if he drops below half HP, he actually heals himself back up to full and then raises all his stats up by 10%. So Adam is really good. Definitely a great unit late game. Early game, not the best. Early game, I wouldn't rank him SS, but late game, yes, he is SS for sure. Catherine, she seems like a very solid unit. I don't have her or haven't used her, but I have read her kit. She has a lot of defense breaks with magic and physical defense. She also has abilities that silences people, which make them not use any of their skills, only just their active attacks. That's all they're able to use. She can also summon other units that on the board, so it's not just 5 units anymore. It's 7 units now at this point. She actually summons up to 3, which is kind of bonkers, because now you can use these units to block for you. You can use these units to clog up a lane and stuff to make it harder for the enemy to reach you. You can use them as tanks. You can just do damage to them. You can heal these things. You can buff these things and stuff. So it gets kind of crazy with Catherine because of the summoning ability she has, and that's like her main thing. But yes, Catherine, she's a dark unit, and dark units actually have the highest stats in the game because they actually don't have elemental advantage towards anyone, but they do have very high stats. I do agree, even though I don't have her, I believe she can definitely be a SS unit. Now Gabriel. Gabriel is the newest tank unit that came alongside with Semi, and this is my take here. He put him in SS, but me personally, I would put Gabriel a different tier. Let me explain why. Gabriel, she is an amazing tank. She has great defense stats. She has very highly above average physical attack, which she uses a lot, and she provides a lot of protection to your team, just like any tank can do, right? But the thing is, she's a light tank, and because she's a light tank, she's not going to be super affected by any attacks, right? So she's not going to be at an elemental disadvantage. So all these attacks will all be neutral. On top of that, she has a magical immunity aura that decreases the magic attack damage that your team's going to be taking as long as she's around them, and that's just her passive. It's always going to be up. So this has to deal with like bosses that do a bunch of AoE attacks, magic attacks. This has to do with enemies that do mages, rangers. You know, everyone in this game has some sort of magic attack. Not everyone, but there's a lot of magic attack in the game that do a lot of damage, and mages with some crazy range like Nola and stuff. So this will keep you safe and stuff in those fights, and those bosses too that do these huge AoE attacks that you can't even really escape from unless you pull your team back. But Gabriel, she's an amazing unit, and then she has an ultimate that does AoE, and she can keep herself up and heal herself back up just in case if things get sticky with your healer, and she can also cleanse your units. And the fact that she also puts a huge shield on herself that does another 15% mitigation damage, it becomes really hard to kill this unit because their best build, you also put a passive on her that she actually heals herself as long as she's under 100%. She's just going to keep healing herself and healing herself and healing herself. She is literally the best tank in the game to me, to my knowledge. So I would actually put Gabriel in the SS tier. She also does have that niche ability of also bringing her in like fights that have high magic damage. But honestly, I believe Gabriel, you can use her in about every and any content, just because she's going to keep your squishies and all your damage dealers and your supports very safe. So this is a great unit, and she can take a lot of hits, and she has a lot of support ability as well. So I actually would put Gabriel in the SS tier. We're going to skip over Lina for now, so we're going to go with Sigrid. Sigrid is actually an amazing unit. He does a lot of damage. He's great early game. He has a lot of healing in his kit, but he does have a downfall where if you put unhealable on him, he really can't heal much. He heals from his weapon. He heals from some of his passives and stuff. His ultimate right here, Meteor Strike, is actually kind of bonkers because It's a single target ability, but it converts 4 buffs that the enemy has into 4 debuffs. And on top of that, he puts immortality on himself for 2 turns. And what that does is that it recovers 50% of the damage done as HP after the battle. But again, as you guys can see, the biggest weakness to Sigrid is unhealable. So if you put unhealable on him, that is going to really put him down. But as far as Sigrid himself, he's a great unit. His passive, he can do active attacks constantly, is because he's always healing himself. And if you do like a super heal build on him, like I've tried before, he can constantly just keep healing and healing and healing. High damage dealer. He is a warrior fire unit. Great unit. You can't go wrong with him. He's actually one of the 3 that you can choose from. I would definitely put Sigrid in the double S tier as well. Okay guys, and now back onto Lina. Lina is a SSR water blue mage, and she's actually also another one of the starters that you can pull from in the banner that you're guaranteed with Sigrid alongside with Nola. And she's actually an amazing water unit, and what she specializes in is AoE magic damage that applies slows and amplifies her own damage on units that do have slow. And slow is a crazy strong debuff in this game because enemies less mobile, so they have very few options as far as how they can move, escape, maneuver, and how can they attack you, how can they approach you and stuff. So it's very good, not only in PvP but PvE. Lina is very solid. She does a lot of damage too because she's a mage and they do a lot of damage. She also applies a seal ability on people too, which can completely deactivate the passive skills of the characters. And that is actually kind of crazy because some of these characters have some really good passive skills. So she can shut down units like Charlotte. Charlotte actually, her extra turn, she gets it from her passive ability. So really good unit, does a lot of damage, and I do believe Lina does belong in the double S tier. Now Clarice, I've actually been using Clarice since the beginning of the game. You actually get her for free. You just gotta do some tasks and stuff. Once you do the task and accumulate the points you need to get, you can actually go ahead and get her for the free ski. Now she is a fire unit, red, and she's an assassin, so assassins have great range. And as far as how I feel about her, I think she is a very solid unit. I don't think she's the best. She does do decent damage, but doesn't have the best stats or highest attack stats for an assassin. She has some things that give her dodge, but one of those with her passive, she actually has to go ahead and take the unit down. So yeah, it's kind of difficult sometimes to proc that dodge ability. It's not as easy as doing it as, like, let's say as Semi, how she does it so seamlessly, right? She can pick a target who she wants to specifically dodge and stuff, and she has abilities that actually make her go into dodge. Clarice does too, but it's a AoE single target line, like in a single line kind of a row thing that gives her 1 dodge and kind of puts herself in danger sort of. But she does have that dodge, right? And does have decent damage. She does put ignite fire damage on you. And she does have an ability that she can hit through escort abilities, which is good, so the pesky tanks can't save people. So that's kind of a value there. But honestly, Clarice, I would put her about in the S or low S tier, maybe even A. But I actually think she's pretty good. I think I'd keep her in S though. So S is actually where I would put her. Okay, then we have Erica, guys. Erica is a light unit SSR, and she is a ranger. She actually basically specializes in shredding and single target damage. She can put defense down buff on you, and she can do a bunch of single target damage. She can also apply double attacks on herself and proc that on her own. She has some support ability, but she also does have an AoE ability that I believe lowers their defense down. So she does have an AoE defense down, but she's mainly going to be looking to shredding people single target damage wise, right? So Erica, I believe she does belong in the S tier. She is a light unit, but as far as other than high single target damage dealing, she doesn't really bring a lot more to the team. But again, high single target damage dealers are valuable in this game too, because you know, when you're going against those bosses and stuff and you need to take them down and you have only a certain amount of rounds, that's going to be very valuable. I agree, she does belong in the S. Okay, and then we're just gonna go right into Nola because I have her. Nola, she is great. I think she's probably the unit with the highest range in the game because she just has some crazy range. I might not be too sure on that, but I believe that might be it because I've seen how far her range is on her abilities. She does good single target. Her AoE is not the best, but she does debuff people. She puts the crit debuff on them, so it's easier to crit them for your team and stuff. And she can reset her own skills, but it actually is by cooldown depending on how many people you hit and stuff. It's not as good as Semi's where she's actually gonna reset your skills no matter what. If she dodges, like, it's not gonna go down by 1 turn, 2 turns, or whatever. Like, that's how Nola's thing is to operate, is that she actually her cooldowns go down each turn for how many times she crits. So she's very heavily reliant on crit, so you're gonna want to build her with crit, especially in it's gonna be easier to build that for her late game. But early game, she's you can't really min-max her, it's easy, but she's still a very solid unit. I think Nola is really good, and I think she does belong in the S tier, and maybe below double S. But again, like, there's not too many like good amazing lightning units in the game yet other than Semi, so I actually would probably put her in the double S tier or high S tiers. That's where I would put her. Now we have Ibanatar. I actually think this unit is really good. He's an assassin water unit. He has an AoE physical defense down debuff and puts bleeds on them. He has high single target damage that he can do on himself, and he is a solid water assassin. His kit really revolves around bleeding. He can either do more damage or literally proc that bleeding dot on him and on that same turn when he does damage, which is his active skill ability. But yeah, very solid unit, but you do have to have bleeds on them, and he can actually run really well if you do put him in like a bleed team comp and stuff. But overall, I think he's a very solid unit, very high damage dealing unit too, that procs bleeds on you, and bleeds do a lot of damage, and he does a lot of single target damage on you too, and the more bleeds he does, just more damage. So I believe he does he does really good. I would put him in S, maybe double S, but I would probably put him in high S tier. Now we got Alicia real quick. She's a dark priest unit. She does a AoE heal that cleanses your units from any debuffs that you have, and also puts physical and magical resistances on you, and these are buffs that stay on you for a certain amount of turns. That's the key thing about her, the fact that she can put those buffs, the magical and defense immunity, on your entire team is really good. I honestly, this healer, I would probably move it to double S just because she can do that, and she's the only healer that really does that, and just gives your whole team even more survivability. On top of that, if you proc that and proc this and you have Gabriel on your team, that's just more tankage that you give for Gabriel to just keep tanking and stuff. Really good. Yeah, she does a bunch of AoE healing and lots of cleansing, and those defensive buffs are really huge. So I would keep her. I would honestly put this unit at double S, but he has it at S. I guess we'll keep her at high S for now. But my thing is that I don't have her, right? I haven't used her, so I don't have too much knowledge on her, so we'll just keep her there for now. So yeah, then we got Richard, which is a lightning unit, and he's a tank, green color, and he's a unit that likes to soak up damage, and he can actually attack range units from a very far range if you have his passive on him. Now that's the main thing about him, is that he can go ahead and attack from range from really far, and he also can do a lot of CC with stuns and stuff. So he's actually going to be really good in PvP and PvE as well with the tanking and stuff, but the PvP with the high CC, he's going to be really good, especially since there's going to be so many Charlottes and stuff. He's a lightning user, so that's going to be really good. And because of that, I would honestly bump him up. He does also apply this supportability buff that gives people more damage and stuff if they attack, if they're 2 ranged tiles from him. And yeah, he just has a bunch of stuff that just reduces damage he's gonna take, and he's gonna be able to tank and stuff. So that's really good for him. And his passive, he has something where he just pushes people back. If the path that they're being pushed back is blocked, he's gonna go ahead and stun them. And he has an ability that he throws out in a straight line as well. If it hits them and it hits everyone in the straight line and it's blocked, people will get stunned and stuff, and he puts a crit debuff on them, so it'll be easier for your team to crit them. You know, overall, great TC and stuff. Not the best for team boss fights and stuff, but as far as like regular enemies and stuff like that, he's gonna be really well. Of course, you know, the stuns and stuff in PvP are gonna be good, and yeah, the coverage that you get, he's a tank. Tanks do good coverage and stuff, but yeah, I would put him in S, double S for PvP though. Again, the last couple SSRs is going to the one that I know. We have Carpet, which is actually the unit that you get for the free as well. This unit actually is very valuable and stuff, especially early on, because it has an AoE attack buff that puts on your whole team for 4 turns. So that's actually a lot more value than people think. And then you can go ahead and put an ability that reduces the cooldown of that, so you can go ahead and keep that up. So actually, I wouldn't put Carpet at B tier. I would actually move up Carpet to A, to either A tier or really low S tier. Just based early game, I have read Carpet's kit, and she actually has an ability for her ultimate where she throws herself in the back line and does damage and like dissembles the team and their positioning and stuff. But the bad side about that is she is a warrior, she's not an assassin. When she goes in, she doesn't really have any damage mitigation buffs or anything, or a dodge or anything, so she's actually very susceptible to be getting hit. But she is a unit that like mixes her magic and physical attack and stuff, and has some range attacks as far as being a warrior too. So I would actually put her around the A tier, especially early game, at low S tier because of the supportability, which is actually very underrated. The attack buff that she can put on her teammate is really good and stuff. So she's more like I see her in the especially early game is more of a supporty warrior damage dealer, right? So definitely not in the B. We'll move her up into high A or either very low S. And for the last 3 units, just to go over them real quickly, we got Casey. She's a water tank. She basically is a unit that comes in and removes escort ability from people around, which is actually very valuable, especially in PvE and PvP situations. If you know, once it starts, if there's like a tank meta going on or whatever, she can go ahead and remove that just with her passive ability. She can come in and protect her team with teammates with escort and stuff, which is also very valuable. You know, all tanks do that, but for her little thing is that she puts a physical attack buff on herself, and she hits the enemy first, whoever's attacking her. And she can give herself her own damage immunity. But yeah, for the most part, nothing too crazy out the wild or whatever, but her passive ability is actually very good. I would keep her in the A tier as well. And as far as Kabar and Peacock, I know Peacock, we were able to use him for a bit. He's a warrior unit that's a dark type, and of course has increased stats because of that. And Peacock, basically, as long as the unit has debuffs, he's gonna have a very high chance of inflicting a crit on them. And if he inflicts a crit on them, he goes ahead and heals himself. And so this is very valuable to Peacock. And he's a very mobile warrior character. I don't really know too much about him, but he definitely can do some AoE damage that puts bleeds on them and stuff. A very solid attacker and stuff. We'll just keep him there at A for now. And as far as Kabar, I don't really know anything too much about this guy, but he is a dark tank, and I haven't been able to use him, so I can't really comment on him, guys. And there's also another character here, Silva, that I've never seen in my life either. He has her at B, so I won't be able to comment on these last 2 characters, so sorry about that, guys. This is a very solid tier list that I actually agree with a lot on. Very good job by them. And this is how my tier list would actually look as well. So yeah, that's about it here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the tier list and stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. This is your boy Jada. I'm out. Peace.